Today, the House will take strong bipartisan action to protect consumers from illegal robocalls. Talk to anyone and you'll hear just how annoyed people are by these calls. And no wonder, according to RoboKiller, a whopping 5.6 billion robocalls were made to Americans in November alone. According to YouMail, more than 200 million calls have been made to the 732 area code in my congressional district this year. And this is pretty outrageous. Today, the House is giving Americans back control of their phones. This legislation is important because unlawful robocalls are not only a nuisance, they're also undermining our phone system and consumer safety as a result. Too often, Americans simply will not pick up their phones out of fear that a robocall is on the other end of the line. And these calls are not just annoying. In a lot of instances, they are scams targeted at consumers. And unfortunately, these scams are becoming more sophisticated every day. At a hearing earlier this year, we learned that the Moffitt Cancer Center received 6,600 scam calls in just 1 month, specifically designed to appear as calls coming from within the hospital. That's dangerous for patient safety and confidentiality, Mr. Speaker. We've heard similar stories of scammers disguised as the IRS, or looking to collect a debt, or scammers disguised as local governments or police departments, and scammers disguised as loved ones in trouble, looking for help. And these are just a few of the examples. All of these scams are different, and there won't be a single silver bullet to fix them all. But the TRACED Act attacks the problem from multiple angles. First, we're targeting fraudsters and scammers who are violating the law. This will be done by using innovative technologies to cut these calls off. Our bill requires carriers to implement a nationwide caller authentication system and to make call blocking software accessible to consumers for free. This is critical. A nationwide caller authentication system that will help ensure consumers can trust the caller ID on their phone again is obviously important. And call blocking is another thing that we do in the bill. Call blocking will stop the phone from ringing when scammers are dialing our phones. These are two critical steps, the authentication and the blocking, that will give consumers control of their phones again. And when it comes to blocking, the TRACE Act also ensures that there is transparency and consistency so that the calls people want are getting through. Now, second, Mr. Speaker, this bill will ensure that law enforcement and the Federal Communications Commission have the tools, information, and incentives to go after robocallers that break the law. We need to make sure criminal penalties are brought by the Department of Justice to deter future robocallers from getting into the business. And third, this bill will help us go after the dodgy carriers that allow these unlawful calls to enter our networks in the first place. These are some of the main provisions of this bipartisan bill, but there are others that will be discussed by my colleagues during our 20 minutes on my side today. But I did finally want to thank our ranking member, Mr. Walden, Communications and Technology Subcommittee Chairman Doyle, and Subcommittee Ranking Member Latta for their leadership and for their determination in getting this final bill to the House floor today. I also want to thank our partners in the Senate, Senators Thune and Markey, for their commitment to this issue and for working with us on this final bipartisan, bicameral product. The TRACE Act takes critical steps to give consumers control of their phones again. I urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan legislation today, and I hope that it will be signed into law before the end of the year. With that, I reserve the balance of my time, Mr. Speaker.